Greetings. Today we are going to be discussing the end form session step. And yes, this entire lesson is about one step. We are going to be going over what it is, what you can do with it, and we are going to give a demonstration on all of the use cases I will be covering in the very next slide, coming up right now. So what is the end form session step? In its most primitive definition, it is designed to close a form a user is currently residing in and to redirect or display information to the user. Now, I have all these use cases listed here because these are all different configurations for this one step. You can have it display a message. You can have it display a message and navigate. You can have it close a dialog or window. You can have it purely navigate. You can have it open a URL, display a report, open the decisions portal in a new window, or update URL parameters. So we are going to be going over 7 out of 8 of these functionalities of this step. But before we do, need to provide some important information to you about this step. Firstly, it is treated as a UI element by decisions, even if it does not display a form. So, in normal things that won't show a UI, such as an active form flow or a run flow inline field, which requires you to check show UI, you have to take this part of the step's properties into account. Secondly, the parameters must be exactly named as they appear in the URL. That is, when you are passing parameters into the checkbox, and I will get into that, you must have those parameters exact. That is, they must exactly match what would be displayed in the URL you are navigating to. All right, let's get right into this demo. Okay, here we are in our Decisions V9 environment. Let's start with our simplest use case, the display a message. So I'm going to go into this flow. I've got a form here, and after it, I have an end form session step. This is where I mentioned we could determine the behavior of this step underneath this options part of the step properties. So I have it set to display a message. You can pass in a message dynamically. You can create one with merge plain text. Here, I just have one that says your form has been submitted. So let's take a look at what this does. I do not need to save that. I'm going to right click this, run it, and then we're going to need to put in all this information here. So for requester name, I will say my own name. My requester email will be displaymessage@test.com. Department doesn't really matter. I'll just say QA. Date doesn't really matter. Item name doesn't really matter. This is all taken from the purchase request form, by the way. This is just a repurposing of it for this lesson. We're going to buy 78 of whatever this is, and it's going to be $24.99. And then we will hit submit request and watch what happens. Look at that. Your form has been submitted. We displayed a message right in front of us. All right? Very straightforward. Now, let's say that you were to call this flow as a user interface API. And let me show you what I mean by that. So if we go to our display to message and we set configure integration to user interface and hit done, I now have parameters that I can call in a separate window that allow me to access this form and see it in my browser. Now you might be thinking, what does this have to do with our lesson on end form session? Well, I want to bring this up because there is one very crucial feature that you must take into consideration when you're calling a flow like this via an API. So if I were to go to a URL like this on a separate browser, and then I put in all the information that I want here, pardon me, this will take but a moment. Then I hit submit. You'll see that it says your form has been submitted, but in the background, it doesn't look like anything's really changed. If I hit close on this, once again, nothing's really changed. So when you are trying to call a flow via a user interface API, you may wish to use a different method to convey that a form has been submitted rather than the end form session step. In fact, what I would recommend instead is instead of an end form session step, you simply add an end form. So I'm going to remove this. And I am instead going to pick an end form that has the proper information that I want to convey instead of having it just display as a message within the end form session step. So let me save. And now, if I go back to that same window and I give this a refresh to call it again, I'm going to put in the information once again. And we'll put in a price and a quantity. And when I hit submit, your form has been submitted. Feel free to close this window and navigate to where you wish. Now you don't see the other form in the background, and you can still convey information via the end form that we added here. All right, so the next behavior we're going to discuss is the navigate behavior of the end form session step. So let's go into where this is configured, which is going to be within a report so that I can demonstrate how you need to enable UI to allow this to happen. So here, I've got multiple entities that have been created from the future. And here I have the navigate button from the runFlow inline field in my data fields. So in order to create one of these, you hit add, you go down, go to calculated columns, and under here, you have the runFlow inline field. So what this does is it allows for a flow to be run based upon a user interacting with the link, and that flow can execute a variety of actions and steps depending on what you need it to do. Here, I've checked Show UI because I'm using an end form session step, and that is technically classified as a UI element. In this Show Editor for display text, I am naming the link, I'm calling it navigate, and that is text that will be displayed to the user. So if I go in this flow, here's my end form session. I've selected the option to navigate, and I am not passing in any parameters for this particular case. All I am passing in is the folder ID and the page name. So I'm navigating to a dashboard. And remember, a dashboard is a combination of a folder and a page. So I will exit and save this. I will exit. And then I've already added this report to a page on my request dashboard called the directed page. And if I click any one of these, I get navigated to the copy of parent-child report page, which is exactly where I told it to go. That is how this step functions, and you can use it to great effect to navigate throughout your environment with different actions. Either right-click actions on entities, or perhaps folder actions that you would see up here. And here I have selected a runFlow inline field to accomplish that for us. Now let's go into our third use case, the display message and navigate. So same sort of setup. Here I'm going to create a request just so I can show it on the dashboard that I'm going to be navigating to. Here's our option, display message and navigate. And I've selected the folder ID of the folder containing my page. And here I have the page name. And then I get to specify the message. And I put it as navigating to user dashboard. So the user should see this when they run this. We're going to exit out. We are going to display a message and navigate, run that. And I will put my name again, why not? And this is display and navigate at test.com. Why not QA, right? Why not QA? This will be test, nav, and display. We'll just do one of these and we'll say it's $56. All right, submit request, and watch what happens. First of all, I get this message displayed, and secondly, I get navigated to this dashboard on the back end. And remember, a dashboard is just a folder plus a page. So I specified the folder ID, I specified the page name, and we're on our correct dashboard. So let's go ahead and get to our fourth use case, which is opening the portal in a new window. So this one is pretty straightforward. A lot of these really are and don't require a lot of configuration. Same sort of thing. Here I'm selecting this Chrome equal off. These are different ways to display the Decisions application within a web browser. Chrome equals off, I believe, is a pretty nice way to look at Decisions, so I'm going to select it, and you'll notice it will look very different from what you typically log into, at least the top part of it. I'm not going to specify any parameters, but I am going to specify the folder ID and the page name. And this is the same combination as we did in our last step, all right? So let's exit out. Let us run this. Once again, let's put my name, and this will be openportal@test.com. Human resources, why not? Send it over there. This will be a test item, quantity 3, and the price will be $33.99. Let's submit it. And in a new window up here, we see that we have our same page that we navigated to before displayed, but we have that Chrome equals off, right? That gets populated into the URL. You'll see it looks a little bit different than what we saw before. If I were to take this away, this is what we saw before. This is what you would normally expect to see on a dashboard, but you can change how that looks by specifying that parameter manually or through the end form session step, which is a pretty neat use case. So let's get on to the fifth use of the end form session step, and that is going to be update URL parameters. This one is interesting. So I'm going to go in here just to show you what's going on here. I can go to update URL parameters, and you'll see that the only thing that I can specify is whether to specify the parameters or not. When I click that, I can add it, and I will go into an area where I have already configured this so you can see what's going on. Let's go into our parent-child reporting project. By the way, this project can be located on our documentation site and imported to your environment so that you can make changes on it. It is the parent-child page. And here we have a flow run part. I'm going to go into this and show you what's going on. Here we've got a confirmation form. This is just a button and some text, nothing else. Here we have update URL parameters. We're going to specify it, and I'm going to say account ID equals. And here I've specified a constant ID to go to. Now this does not have to be constant. This can be specified from flow. You can do this a lot more dynamically than I am and use this for a wider variety of use cases than I'm showing you here. However, I just at least want to show you what this does so that you can use it in your own environment. So I'm not going to save this. And we're going to exit out of this without saving. Let's go to the actual dashboard and see what's going on. So this is parent-child reporting. I click on an account ID. Specifies account details on the right. You can see that happening, right? Things pretty straightforward here. However, notice up here, I have account ID equals, right? And every time I click on a different ID, it's going to specify it, and it changes the update over here. This child report is designed to look at what is up here and populate itself, or rather filter itself based upon that account ID equals. So this button is going to change that to a constant ID, specifically the admin account. So if I go to this account right here, but then I click confirm, look, child report changed to admin account. Let's do that one more time, and this time look at the URL, all right? I'm going to click it. It got updated. It's all going back to this one because we're telling it to. Again, you can make this a lot more dynamic. You can have different functionality to populate where you want your report parameter to be specified. Let's get to our next use case. Here we are going to navigate to an external page. This is pretty straightforward. A lot of it is. I keep saying that, but I really want to drive that point home. This is not rocket science. This is stuff that is easy to set up and gives you so much functionality in your environment. So here, I have the endform session to open a URL. I can choose to open it in a new window or not. And once again, I can specify parameters going into that URL if I want to be able to populate certain parts of that URL, such as subdomains, dynamically. Here, I'm just going to our homepage for our company, decisions.com. So let's exit out of this. Let's run this. Once again, I'll put my name, no reason not to, and this will be open URL at test.com. Item, I'll call it test again, why not? Professional services, let's go here. Quantity 1, there is only 1 decisions. And we're going to submit request. And look at that. We're at our home page already. By the way, you should absolutely sign up for our webinars if you haven't already. These things are fantastic. Highly recommend them. Okay, so the last use case I want to demonstrate to you is displaying a report. So if I were to go into this, I've got my similar layout, right? My end form session is set to display a report. Here I need the folder ID once again, but I also need the report ID. All right? And I want to specify this is different than the dashboard. This is just on a report. So this is a different folder ID. The folder ID that I'm specifying is where this report resides in, not where the page resides in. So let's run it. Requester name, my name, once again. Getting tired of typing my name a lot. This is report. Let's go with IT. Item name, I'll call it report. Quantity 1, and then $56.99. I'm going to hit submit request. And now we're in the report viewer. If you keep in mind, our dashboard had the this is a page on the top. This is not our page. This is a report. And this report can be configured in a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to be a default report. It can be a rich text report. It can be displaying a chart if you have some of the columns grouped. This will take you to a report that is configured in any kind of way. All right, and that is going to do it for the end form session step. There are many more use cases. I'm sure that you can use those 8 different behavior types within. However, as long as you've got a comprehensive view on how each of those behavior types work, I'm sure you can build amazing things with this. Thank you all for watching this video. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.